All right, so Three Ninjas Podcast, Domino, Hess Jones, Bobby. And as of right now, I have on the line because a comicbookresources.com article that I guess the world has seen at this point. Find out about this man in his studio. He's been a part of things like Attack on Titan, Naruto, Tokyo Ghoul, One Piece, just to name a few. Black man out here just creating shit, being as good as he can. But we have the CEO of Shtajio, located in Japan. We have Arthell Isom on the line. Arthell, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks. Really appreciate you guys. Like just setting, waking up from the wee hours, brother. Coming to say hello with me, and making time to even speak with me, man. I'm super appreciative of that.
Nah, man, we gotta make time for people like you because, like I said, because of the article, I didn't even know you guys existed. Just gonna be honest. So,
Yeah, yeah.
the article came out. I was kind of blown away that you were a part of the things that you were a part of, and then actually reading Exogenesis and being like, oh, they actually did the animation on this. I was like, oh, I should have heard of them earlier. So now that I actually get to, I didn't think I was gonna be able to get to talk to you honestly. So, because of
Yeah,
all your newfound fame, I thought you was gonna be harder to
yeah,
reach.
yeah. Yeah, no, no, no. We try to try to stay open, right, as open as possible, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're right. It's interesting because I've been in Japan now for almost 15 years, right? And we're going on 15 years now,
Mm.
just chugging away and just working out here. But and even though we've worked on quite a few things now, like you said, like a lot of people didn't know about us, and so there's just a lot of things happening, with the marches and things like that. Like Compass Resources kind of was just like just shine a light on some folks doing things, all over. And they made this article, and then now it's like people are like kind of contacting us, which is pretty cool. So I'm super like have to thank Compass Resources, like because they didn't have to do that, I guess, right? So that's amazing.
Right. Now, how are protests in Japan looking? Because I know the whole world is in disarray right now with the virus, and now
Yeah,
this
yeah.
the civil unrest of people. So how are like protests in Japan looking?
So like I think Japan is just kind of laid back with
Hmm.
with just their approach to everything, right?
Right.
Even
Right.
the virus and everything, right? Like, okay, virus here, everybody stay inside
Mm.
if you want to, but like
Right.
and that's about it, right? Just wear
Mm.
some masks, and that's it. And then everybody's just, like everyone just people here are super respectful, and like just they kind of just like I don't want to say fall in line because that kind of makes it seem negative because
Yeah.
it's not. It's more like oh, okay, this is what we're all doing, so let's just all do that kind of thing, right? And so they, we're in. So with the whole COVID thing, we're all wearing our masks. Everyone's already like washing their hands and things, and practicing the social distancing.
Mm.
So that was fine. Then with the protests, and I was actually surprised. Like, they had it in a few cities out here in Japan,
Mm.
and it's not even that many black people out here. But and so which is which makes Japan kind of commendable, right? Like, there's not even that many black people in this country, but
Right.
they still
Right.
hold protests. Whereas like, a lot of Japanese, joined, and a lot of foreigners from other countries, like especially Latin American stuff, joined. And and then it was really obviously it was peaceful because this is Japan,
Mm.
So
Right. Right.
like and did the march and around like a few of the stations, and the Japanese people who were out, you know, doing their thing, kind of watched and like threw up a fist, and
Right.
so that,
Gotta be
I thought
weird.
that was interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so it was yeah, it was a good day though.
Now you black and you living in Japan. Who braids your hair?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I go to this African shop actually. I think she's from Ghana. I've been going to her now for like 8 years. Or
Okay.
no, now it has to be longer than that, like 10 years probably.
Hmm.
So that's where I go to go hair braided. Yeah, because I tried to go to a Japanese shop when I first got here.
Hmm.
That was and not to take anything away from her because she was trying really hard, and she was
That had to
that
be
was probably
horrific,
her first
bro.
time. Yeah, man, I was sitting in a chair for like it would be like 6 hour stints, 7 hour stints just for
Mm.
like cornrow, just for like four, like 8 rows, So it was that was it. But I would still go there religiously because that was the only place I knew to go. And then
Mm.
I found they had this in Japan. There, even though there's not that many, but there is an African community out here. There's actually quite a few communities from all different cultures out here,
Mm,
from all different countries out here. And so I went to this African festival, African culture festival, whatever.
mm,
And so once I saw that, they had like a braiding booth there, and they're like, oh yeah, we have a shop here. And from there, and stuff. All right,
mm.
here then.
Okay. Now, how are you mentally holding up right now? Like I said, with the protests and the virus, and like I said, everybody's been thrown off. Everybody thought that 2020 was gonna be like a year for them.
Yeah,
God
yeah,
had other plans for y'all.
yeah, yeah. I know, man. So that's actually a really good question because I didn't. And it's it's such a like a heavy thing because like especially now that everything's like just kind of being thrown into everybody's faces and like
Mm,
you can't even ignore it. Like I think people who and I don't like to throw these things around because like there's a lot of our white brothers and sisters who give us mad support, and so like if we just say, oh, they're the first lifetime, I get
mm,
that, but like but there's people who can kind of and I'm in Japan, so it's like we can kind of escape things, right?
right.
And then, but now, like you can't escape it because it's all
Mm,
over the world, and it's like this big thing, and it's happening in every state, which is in its own right amazing and and necessary.
mm,
And then because of that, like so obviously there's lots of media coverage and a lot of one of the good things that I kind of felt about this whole thing is that I don't like it makes people who don't know anything about our culture or our past. It I don't want to say makes them, but it gives them the curiosity to then do some research. Oh, what is this about? What are they saying? Wait, let
mm.
me let me let me Google that. Right? Even like Juneteenth, let me Google June like 1960. What 1965? What's that? Right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you have all these things that people didn't even know anything about, but now they're interested in it, and like they're so that's amazing, and that has like a positive feeling, because of
Mm,
that kind of empathy that the world is sharing. But then there's this like kind of I feel like this like and it's weird because I feel like a perpetual sadness that gets like deeper and deeper every day. And then that I just started recently feeling, and I had some interviews or like get a little bit emotional, and
mm,
I like and that's not even like my thing, and I'm crying. It's like I gotta focus, right? But then like and I started to realize that maybe it's like PTSD or something, like where it's like our culture's been through so much,
mm,
and then now it's just being thrown in our face every day, and we can see it, and then right, reading articles and reading History Channel and Discovery, like just things that I've already read and things that I've already seen, looking at old photos of Martin Luther King, or just like reading books like just reread the Malcolm X book, and then like you just kind of okay, let me study about you know the abolition just again. Let me read about
mm,
that. Oh wait, when was the civil rights movement? Oh yeah, okay, let me read about that again.
mm-hmm.
And then so you're just revisiting things, and then and because of that, like it's this information is kind of there, but when we go through school and like history, we don't learn that history, right? It's like skated over,
Right,
and so
yeah.
now like obviously we're older, but then you have the internet where you can just get as much information as possible, so you're inundated with information.
Mm,
And then so like yeah, like I just kind of feel like this hole that's like opening up, and it's just like getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like I feel like I'm falling inside of it, and and I don't even know like what to do about it,
mm.
and like it's like what can we
What can
do?
you do?
Yeah, yeah, and like and I want there to be like a reason, not a reason, because obviously there's a reason. I want there to be a positive reaction
Mm,
to what's happening. So like then I think so then while we're out here working, like you're trying to work, but you're also still kind of
you got
seeing the
you got that in the
effects.
back of your
Yeah,
head.
yeah, 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 yeah. And then and then obviously there's like there's a lot of positive things. There are a lot of positive things coming out
Hmm.
because of what's happening right now, which is good. I mean, like even just or like let's stay away from the negatives. Let's just stick to our industry. But like even how people are shining lights on you know people of color in the creative industries, and just in industries in general, right?
Mm,
And I always kind of say this because I read this tweet, and I wish I kind of I don't know who said it. It was probably like I think it was a white person who said it, but I like what she said, and
Hmm.
so I always repeat it. And I wish I could remember her name because I should give her credit for it. But like she's just like, you know, and she wasn't saying it negatively because she was obviously supporting Black Lives Matter and all this thing. But she was just like, she said, "What's wrong with like the world now? They act like black people just appeared." And I felt like that was so. She hit the nail on the head because it's like we've all been here, like working really hard, moving
Hmm.
forward, and doing things. But people are like, "Oh, look, hey, there's a black guy," you know. And it's like,
Right,
but
right.
we've been it. Like, what are you talking about? We've been here, you know. We've been working hard, and but that's not a negative thing. Like that people are now at least acknowledging us and wanting to acknowledge us. There's all these Netflix and that Netflix is really huge, but Universal, I think they donate like 100 million or something like that, and it's like all these um, companies are trying
Mm.
to like they're ripping the bandage off. Well, the bandage was ripped off by all the protesters who are out there like saying, "Look at this scar that's been here since freed, right, or supposedly freed, and then
Mm.
look at this scar, it hasn't healed, so the bandage is ripped off." But now you have these studios and these big companies and things that are trying to you know uh, trying to sew it up, and like fix it as best as they can,
I mean,
with the uh,
yeah, yeah, they're doing what they can because to be honest, I don't think we would have gotten the comic book article if it wasn't for
yeah,
the protests that are going on because a lot
yeah,
of these
exactly,
outlets are like
exactly,
doing pandering or like they're trying to, like, hey, we
yeah,
like
yeah,
black people too. Hey, let's do some black hosts on this game show. Let's put some black announcers
yeah.
here. Let's highlight this studio.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And I think that it's like, so I think that's a good thing. It's like at least we can see the change, right? At least,
Right.
or we can see the effect, and
Mm.
that's the type of effect that we wanted. And I think like as we're doing these marches and things, like we have to, if we can, like it's not my place to tell the leaders and the black leaders who are out there, the civil activists and stuff who are
Mm.
trying to get things done, how to do things. So, but for us, for me, it's like, okay, well, what is the thing that we want?
Mm.
Okay, we want these people in jail. We want this. We want a platform that we can be seen equally. Okay,
Mm.
cool. That's something that can be answered right away, or that that's a solid want, and it's concrete, and we can see it, and we can adjust that. Not adjust that. We can. What's the word I'm looking for? It can be handled properly
Mm.
because now there's something there. And
Mm.
so yeah, so we have like these. So and then yeah, I feel like we're kind of receiving like the positive end of that, where it's like, okay, cool. Hey, look, let's shine a light on these people. Look what they're
Mm.
doing. Okay, they're doing something interesting. Okay, cool. Let's give them the opportunity that we've been giving to other people. That's okay. They've already sown their oats and stuff, right? And so okay, let's help them get to that next step, which
Right.
is really we have to kind of be appreciative of that. So,
Mm. Now, you mentioned that, the comment from the white woman saying like they act like black people just appeared out of nowhere, like we've been here for a while. Now, coming into I guess the animation world, how has Japan been receptive to a black owned anime studio? Because what I took it as is that, obviously anime is has its origins in Japan. And what I took it as is like, say if like a white boy tried to rap, it's like here you go invading our culture and trying to take over type of thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
like appropriation. Yeah,
appropriate, yeah. There we go. So now, how
yeah,
has Japan been receptive, and was there any fear in starting a black owned
yeah,
studio?
yeah. I think that's an interesting thing because it's like, okay, like are we appropriating anime? Like, are we trying to take over their culture? And so I guess like there's two parts there, like where I don't, at least when I kind of I've been here for 50 years working in this industry and stuff like that, and
Mm.
going to school here, it's always been super appreciative. Like no one's ever been like, what are you doing here? That kind of thing.
Mm.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
I've never dealt that. If anything, it's always been from foreigners, which I think is really weird. Like you have foreigners outside of Japan saying, "Hey, you guys are appropriating," while the Japanese
Yeah,
people are the ones
right.
who are teaching us. And so it's like, what are you like? But whatever. Like everyone's got to have their opinion. But like so the Japanese are they're teaching us. I went to school here, like, and I learned how to to approach art the way that they do it here. And then I worked here, and then I had my senpais teaching me. And so just from that experience, and like even having the studio here, that the answer to that is really just like they've been understanding the whole time, right? And like and actually like, kind of being like giving a handout and helping essentially where they can. Like, we have Japanese staff and we work on Japanese productions, and like
Mm.
no one's ever been like slammed the door in our face because we were black, or even just because we were foreigners or anything. Like that has always been like really the opposite, where
Mm.
they, oh cool, you guys might bring some cool interesting take to what we're doing. Cool,
Right.
let's see what you guys are doing. Yeah, come here. Like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you paint like that, that's cool. Like, you guys draw your characters like that, that's even cooler. Can you draw those characters for our cartoon too, for our animation as well
Mm.
next time or something? And so and you see just in a lot of things out here, different people are just super appreciative of just other cultures. They like reggae. They got like, have
Right.
dreads and stuff like that. They're just like trying to do their own thing. Like, I think just because it's only the one culture here,
Mm.
that when other cultures and things come, they're like super interested in it, and they
Okay.
just like they want to know so much about it, because it's not here naturally, right?
Mm.
And so, which is, and that's everywhere, right? In America, when something's new, which is why anime is popular in America. Oh, that's not in America. So when it comes there, we're just like, shoot, what is this? Let me absorb it,
Mm.
or let me take it in. Then when you made a comment about appropriation, and I think that's interesting because, yeah, like I understand that argument. And so, okay, let's talk about rap, right? And it's like you have like some people who are just like getting in there and they're just like rapping. I'm not going to throw out any names, obviously, because like,
Right.
you can't do that. But like,
Yeah.
you
But
have
we
some
know.
people who are, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but we know, and then they're they're just in it just to get money, or like with no respect. And so, and I think that's the difference between appropriation and people who are actually just promoting the culture. Maybe that's the two terms. I don't know. What would be the opposite of appropriation? Got my wordsmith over there, but he's working. I don't know, Stephen. What's the opposite of appropriation? What's the opposite of appropriation? Proliferation. Thank you.
Proliferation.
It's
Yeah. Prolific.
a wordsmith. That's my wordsmith, man. So like,
Keep
yeah,
it
like,
real.
so you have the people who appropriate something, then you have the people who helping to like spread this culture, right?
Mm.
Proliferate it so that people can have respect for it because they didn't know about it, and then and broaden it out. And even in rap, so we're talking about rap. I'd say obviously Eminem is that kind of person.
Yeah. Right.
Obviously Eminem isn't appropriating anything. So it's like, well, what separates Eminem from the other people? Well, the thing that separates Eminem is that he grew up in the culture. He understood the culture. He respected the culture. He was
Right.
taught by the culture, and not just by listening to it on the radio. Like he was taught by the culture, right? He had his mentors and things that raised him up. These rappers that he respected, that he grew up under, and then so that's why every way that he approaches the culture is from the culture, and so us, I think that's how where we're coming from. It that's the standpoint that we're coming from, and I think that's why we can work well with the Japanese studios here. Because I
Mm.
went to school here, so it wasn't even like I just was like, hey, I want to be an animator. Like I said, I went to school, I learned the way they did. My first job in the animation industry was in Japan. I've actually never even worked in the animation industry in America, in the West.
Mm.
So right after I graduated from college, I came to Japan. I went to another school here, and then just started working. So my only experience in animation is in Japan.
Right.
And so, so everything that my whole approach, my mindset is really kind of Japanese, So like
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of like, and so even when I'm speaking with Japanese people, they're always like, "Oh, like you're too Japanese, you need." And I'm just like, "Oh, all right, yeah, sorry about that, But like,
Mm.
and so I think, but I do feel that is a difference of like appropriation and proliferation. As Stephen said, like it's like where because I do like it's like and even when we approach things, like in having our staff, one of the major requirements or prerequisites that I have for anyone that we even hire, if they are a foreigner, is that they have to have utmost respect for Japanese culture first. You
Mm.
have to speak Japanese, you have to understand how this culture works, and if you do, then you can work in this office. But if you don't, then because already that's a conflict, It's like you have to first at least understand where this space that you're in. At least that's my mindset.
Mm.
And then is it necessary? Maybe not. Maybe someone has another opinion, right? But like, and that's totally valid. But and that's kind of my answer, or what I that's the response I get if someone when people say oh, aren't you just appropriating something? Because that's different than the studios that might just, well, yeah, I'm not going to throw any studios
Right.
but yeah, yeah, you know
Got you. Got you. All right. Now, what does De Stagio mean? What does the name
uh,
mean?
yeah, they are Shtajio, so that it has like so many so many like things that I've drawn to make this name up. But um I like the reason we pronounce it like day because I it's probably even that's kind of pronouncing correctly, maybe I don't know. But I like that they kind of meant the and then
Mm.
so it's like the most simplest explanation is like yeah, the art studio.
Yeah. That's what I
Then
thought. Yeah. I was like, hey, he black
yeah,
dart. Yeah.
yeah. It's the art. It's just the art studio, But like, but then of course there's like, there's always like layers to
Yeah. The
things,
deeper
and
meaning. Yeah.
uh, yeah, yeah, and then like so the D at the beginning represents many things actually, and something that I do kind of like that people talk about. It's like it stands for diversity and everything else, and then of course art just stands for art,
Mm.
and I also the and so Shtajio, that's the one that's actually like the word that we really made up, which is and so like Shtajio, I get that because when I was working at over at Kobo, which is that was like the first company that I was working for when I first came out here, the background studio. Um, it As a background painter, the first thing that we learn is Shtaji, which is like that's what we call the underpaint. Like it's like the base that we're painting. Like it's I guess it just means underpainting. So like
Mm.
we wet the paper, and then so you're doing your genuity. It's like so that's what that is.
Mm.
Um, then so I like that phrase like and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then in Japan, like they always take like loan words or where the words that they didn't have in the Japanese dictionary in the Japanese language, they use from foreign cultures. And so,
Mm.
like elevator, because elevator is a Western construct or like invention. They say elevator. It's like just a Japanese pronunciation of elevator.
Mm.
And so the way that they say studio is actually now let me see if I can say this correct because I thought because obviously I pronounce it the way that we pronounce it,
Right.
but
Right.
it's a little different. But the way that they pronounce it was I think it's Sutagio, I think is how they say it.
Mm.
And then which is just another way to say studio.
Mm.
And so I like that. And so I kind of it was like a play of those two words, like staji, which means just like the underpainting, and then
Mm.
the Japanese pronunciation was studio stagio, and I just put it together. So stagio, it's like it's like a Japanese word and studio mixed together.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's where we got the meaning from.
All right. So so
Um,
so the name of the studio has nothing to do with your name at all. So it's not like the
um,
the Arthell Studio. It's just the art.
and that
They Are Studio.
yeah, yeah. Like, well, like so of course my name is Arthel, so the
Yeah.
beginning is art, right? So there's that. I think you could say that. And my brother's name is Darnell, so
Mm.
his name starts with the D, so you could say D art. Um,
Yeah.
then, but generally it's just the art studio.
Okay.
And then,
Got you. Got you. Got you. Now, where are you originally from? You're from New Jersey, right?
yeah, yeah, from Jersey, from Patterson.
Patterson. Now how's
Yeah,
it growing
yeah,
up
yeah.
in Patterson? That's not the nicest place in the world.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We got that. Yeah, we got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
My folks be wilding out in Patterson, but
Mm.
it makes us strong. But like, so, but what? It's interesting because we growing up in Patterson. Like, I don't know. I like growing up in Patterson. It was fun, and I had the kind of my family was really I don't know what you say. Like we lived a kind of sheltered lifestyle though, so we weren't
Mm.
allowed to like go run wild in the streets and things like that. Because our parents were trying to make sure we,
Didn't get
stayed
caught
on
up
that
in that.
straight and narrow path. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so even though I grew up in Patterson, and I hang out with my friends, and we grew up like we grew up in the projects. Like we lived in the projects for a little bit, like a little stint, and we lived like all over. Man, we moved all over Patterson, like all over.
Mm.
But just all different neighborhoods, Summer Street, and Third Street, and just everywhere.
Mm.
22nd, Jasper. But so I like seen so much of it and worked all over the place there. But but my dad, when I moved with my dad, he had his own company, which was like doing carpentry and things, and also doing sound production or sound design for like concerts and shows and things like that.
Hmm.
So he just kept us super busy, man. Like we'd be at school. Once school was finished, then we just go do that, like building a house, and then we did that, yeah, until we were ready to graduate and go to college. And
Right,
so,
right.
yeah. So, but it was great. Like I went to performing arts school there, Rosa Parks, um,
Hmm.
and so that was fun, and they're still close with all my friends that went to the class of '97. So because Rosa Parks is a small high school, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole school had like 200 people in it.
200.
So
God damn.
yeah, it was tiny. Our graduating class was like 64 people,
Whew.
but like so, but that made it fun and enjoyable, and yeah, like, I don't know, everything is cool
Dope, dope. Now, when does art come into play?
in my life. So art started pretty much, man, like as early as I can remember. And I remember when my mom told me, she's like, "Oh," she was always like, "Oh, can you draw that thing you drew again?" When I was like 2 years old, I guess she has like this story that I drew like a train, and the
Mm.
smoke was like faces, I guess. And so she's like, "Oh man, you're
At
2 years old.
two?
You drew." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it was like, I mean,
Yo,
I don't
your
know
mama
how
had
detailed
foresight.
that.
She named you the right name. She knew how to
Yeah,
harness that.
I know. Yeah, it's so crazy. Like these like coincidences. I mean, like I don't even know. It was like the world was like you're supposed to be an artist or something. But like, yeah, I don't know. So it's just born like an artist, right? Yeah, like you said, even my name. So so yeah, like it was when I was in elementary school, entered art competitions. I won some awards. I had the art hanging up in city hall and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
And then all of that, like, of course, all of that just motivates you more, right? And my brother and I, because we're twins,
Mm.
we we weren't rich, right? We were, like, we grew up just like everybody else in Patterson. Like when
Mm.
I don't know everybody, but like my parents were on Section 8 and
Yeah, like most.
welfare
Yeah,
and
like
stuff. Yeah,
the
right. And
majority of
like
people. Yeah.
nothing to be ashamed of. It was
Yeah,
like
of course not.
that's just, it was hard times, right? And
Right.
so, but because of that, like we didn't have toys and all that kind of stuff that everybody else had,
Mm.
but we did have like paper, right? And so it was just my brother and I would just be drawing all the time,
Mm.
and like that was just kind of like how we escaped,
Right.
and you know, and it was weird though because when I moved with my dad, and I think I've said this in another interview, but where it's like I stopped drawing because my dad wanted us to be musicians. So
Mm.
then there was like this big gap. Actually, like all of high school, I didn't draw at all. So like
Oh
it's like
wow.
4 years. And so then like art disappeared out of my life there. And
Mm.
then it came back when I went to college. I think that actually like fueled the fire where I was, how when your parents tell you to do something, you want to do something, you want to do
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
opposite or whatever,
Right,
right?
right,
So,
right.
although I was a fairly good musician, but like, but it was like, man, like, no, I want to be an artist, And so I went to college, I went to an art
Okay.
university. So.
Now, what instruments did you play? You play, or did you sing, or what?
Played the saxophone, so all the saxes. So
Mm.
so soprano, tenor, alto, baritone, and yeah. And so I was in the jazz band, classic blues band.
Mm.
That because we went to performing arts school, so that was just like it was like all we did, like all day. It was like I think I had like 4 classes. It was just music classes. It was pretty cool though. It's
So
fun.
you just a talented motherfucker. I get it. Okay, I see you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see you.
And
I
right,
get
like
it.
it sounds like I'm all bragging and stuff
No,
like
it's
that.
not even
Yeah,
that you
that's
bragging. That's impressive as hell. Like I wish I could do all that shit that I want to do. Like the stuff that I want to, I wish I could do. But
yeah,
you can
yeah,
actually do like, hey, I play sax and I draw and I own a studio. I do anime. Like cool. I wish I could do all that shit, but
yeah.
one day,
Man, I'm sure
hopefully.
you do a lot of stuff, brother. Like, yeah, you got your own podcast thing called Three Ninjas. Actually, why is it called Three Ninjas?
Um, well, my other co-host Bobby thought of it because when we were making a podcast, we needed a
Mhm.
name. So
Yeah,
we took it at base value. Said, all right, so at base value, what are we? All right, so we three niggas, right?
yeah.
So he was like, all right, just call it Three Ninjas. I was like, huh, it's not a bad fucking idea. We like
That's
anime. We gonna be talking about anime and comics and stuff like that. That's
yeah,
not
yeah.
bad.
That's not that's tight though.
I
I
mean,
like
hey,
that.
it's been working so far. We coming up on episode 100 soon, so
Wow,
it's been
man.
working out.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Shoot, crazy. Three ninjas. I like that. That's cool.
Now, so you went to performing arts school. Now, what got you to Japan? Like, what drove you to Japan after college?
So when I was in high school, I always feel like I'm just like a broken record, and sometimes I feel like I should have something else that I like, but
Right.
I don't. You know. So when I was in high school,
Mm.
I I watched Ghost in the Shell when I was in high school,
Mm.
and I really really liked Ghost in the Shell. I don't know why. Like at that time, I was still in high school, still playing music, so I didn't have a chance to really digest the content and figure out what it was about it that I liked. I
Mm.
just knew that I really liked it. So
Right.
when I moved to California, I took that tape with me, and then then when I was in college, man, like I would just watch that like every day. Like that was like my inspiration for uh, like I don't know, like when I was painting and drawing and stuff, I would just play it in the background. I like the music and stuff like that, and you just hear the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
just playing in the
Yeah.
background,
I
and
love
like I
Ghost
would
in the
just be
Shell, man.
drawing. Yeah, dude. And
Love.
so yeah, like that because of Ghost in the Shell, I I got like I don't know, man. Like we all have like we're all kind of have like these points where we fall off in life or something. But I got kicked out of college, right,
Yeah.
for like a year. It was crazy. And then like I got kicked out of college, but when I got kicked out of school, um, my school they made this like special class for me to take during that year. So it
Mm.
wasn't because they said like which I so I'm like I'm always thankful, which I think that's the reason why I always tell this story is because when you a lot of kids if you get kicked out of school you kind of don't go back to school, right? Like you can get
Yeah,
lost in
yeah.
life, right?
Mm.
And so that was what my director said. She was like, kids like obviously they knew where I came from and stuff. They were just like, it's easy for kids to get lost, and we're not like our maybe like I don't know I hate like bragging, but like
Right,
sorry,
yeah.
but they were just like, okay, he's talented and like and we don't want him to be out on the streets, so let's make another class for him
Mm.
and in this class is for him to discover who he's supposed to be kind of
Mm.
thing. I was like the only person in that class. I felt like I don't know, like some kind of degenerate or something. But like
Yeah.
like in this class, that I had to take and I had to go there every day. Like it's like if I didn't go to the class, I would have been kicked out forever. Like they would have expelled me.
Mm.
But during this time that I was in this class, I had to my the teacher she was like the guidance counselor, but she was like my teacher, and
Mhm.
so she uh, so which I thought was interesting because her approach, which really obviously helped me with me like figuring out what it's supposed to be in
Right.
the future, since she wasn't just an art teacher, like she wasn't an art teacher, right? Like that wasn't her thing. Her thing was like guidance, right? Like,
Mm.
and so she made me make a journal. I had to make a journal, and in the journal, she was like, "Well, you're gonna make this journal, and it's for you to just kind of figure out what you want to do with your life." Because I still didn't know what I knew I wanted to be like an artist and animator, but I didn't know
Yeah.
where in this field I would be. And when I was a kid and stuff, obviously we had the grand dreams of wanting to start a company and stuff like that. But still, it's like, how do you do that, right?
Right.
But when I was in this class, I had to keep this journal, and like sometimes obviously be a little bit lazy, you just kind of find whatever's next to you and put it in the journal. But like
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
but like as I was making this journal, she noticed that like the only images I kept having was like land like pictures of cityscapes and things like that. And I had like a lot of pictures, obviously from Ghost in the Shell, just but it was never the characters. And she was like, "Oh, what is this from? Where is this anime? Like, where are you getting these images from?" And
Mm.
I was like, "Oh, I like Ghost in the Shell." She was like, "Well, how come? Who's the character?" She was like, "You don't even have any characters." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. I guess I just like the backgrounds."
Uh-huh.
And then and so then I realized that was what was really drawing me to Ghost in the Shell. It wasn't this the character storylines. It was just visually everything that was in the environments. And so
Mm.
and then I was like, oh man, I think you're right. And so she was like, oh look, Eureka, right? Like I think we figured out what you want to be, like what kind of artist you want to be and where your
Mm.
focus is. And so then that really directed me to like know that I want to be like just really, like I think I was already kind of into like, 'cause I was already taking landscape painting classes and things like that, but
Mm,
that really narrowed my focus. And then I was like, oh, okay, like, and then I like this guy, So then I found out that Hiromasa Ogura-san was the art director of Ghost in the Shell.
mm,
And then when I looked at my shelf, like at home, it was like there was a few other animations that I had to watch, and they were all by him as well. And I was
mm,
like, oh, that's crazy. He's art director of these too. And then, so I guess that's why I liked them. So then I watched more things from him, like Last Exile, and then I watched like Wings One Minus, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, definitely. So that kind of made me feel like, oh yeah, I want to go to Japan because I want to study under him. I want to be a background painter
mm.
under this guy. And I remember when I told her that, like, I think that was the first time she showed me, like, she's supposed to be my guidance counselor, but she was just like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're
Mhm.
like, you're like this black guy who can't speak Japanese, and
Right.
you live in America. Like, she was like, well, like, maybe you can try to have a more realistic dream, like something that's more achievable. And I was
Mm.
like, no, 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 no. This
Like,
is
no,
this is
no,
what I'm
no.
gonna do. Yeah, yeah. It's like I'm gonna work for this guy. I'm gonna go to Japan. I'm gonna do that. And then from that day forward, like that was like my only focus. It's just like working for Ogura-san and coming out here. And that was kind of that was what directed me to like figure out that I wanted to go to Japan. Because
Okay.
up until that point, like any animation would have done, like I was, because I'm not that kind of, which is like I always kind of feel weird about it, but I think it's always best to tell everybody, because like I was never like an otaku or weeb or anything. Like I
Mm,
don't like anime like that, like I'm more of a, I my approach to anime was from art,
mm,
and that's the only thing that draw me. So if I didn't, probably if I didn't find Ghost in the Shell, I probably would have just been working for an animation studio in America, and I would have been totally fine with that.
mm.
But like, but yeah, but then somehow like that directed me here. And then yeah, I think that's that.
Ev- Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, one thing. So if that didn't happen, you said you obviously would be working in America. Now, do you think that you can make authentic or good anime in the West?
Uh, I don't know. Like because I feel weird like when I answer this question because then maybe my answer be biased or maybe we're like no, like because I have a company, right?
Mm,
Of course, I want everybody to hire us. Only, hey, hire us. Don't
right.
hire the other people. But no, like but honestly, like as an artist, I think that the real answer to that is, of course, you can, because I feel that all movements in art have rules,
Mm,
and just like rap, right? Like in the different eras of rap and everything, there's rules to it. Like what determines this to be, well, like just in music in general, what makes rap rap,
mm,
what makes R&B R&B, what
right.
makes and then even within rap, you got like Southern rap, you got the East Coast rap, you got West Coast rap, and what separates those, and so art obviously is the same, right? So you have like Baroque, and you got Impressionist movement, you have the colorist movement, and all these different movements in art, all of them determined by rules. And
Mm,
so I feel that like anime is the same. It's just a movement within animation. And so it has to have rules. Once you determine what those rules are, and if you stick
mm,
to them, then you can make anime properly.
okay.
But like yeah, like but just because you know the rules,
Mm,
like oh cool, I studied art history. I know what an impressionist is. I'm gonna go kick a canvas and bam, I'm an impressionist. Like of course that doesn't work either, right? Like just
yeah.
because you know what makes right. And so but knowing the rules can put you on the right path, and then you can if you do the legwork, right? So I think that people can make anime in the West.
Okay. Now, do you ever think that black characters will be successful in anime?
Oh yeah, of course. We're
Okay.
gonna make successful black characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like, and then I think you know there's like how can we do that? There's a lot of ways how,
Yeah, that's a better question.
and then but I'm not gonna answer that question yet. I'm gonna make them,
Hmm.
and then I'm gonna see if my answer is correct.
Because like I said, like you doing stuff like Teflon Funk, you did
Yeah,
Exogenesis, and I'm thinking, okay, these look amazing, but
Yeah.
are they going to translate with the rest of the world? Be it, like I said in the beginning, with all these riots and the protests and and things like
Yeah.
that, is the overwhelming majority of the anime fans going to accept this? Because I've been to conventions, I've been to Black nerd conventions, and we're out here, but we're just not the
Yeah.
majority. We can only do but so
Mhm.
much to bring this to light, and we want
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
represented, but
Mhm.
it's just the fact that we need to find people who want to represent us and do it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I think like that's the I totally agree with what you just said, and even now with the stuff. So you mentioned a few things that we had done, like Teflon and stuff, but they've always been like shorts and things, and so I feel that the
Yeah.
only way that we're going to have a successful characters, at least within their art, is like once we actually have long form content, and
Mm.
that's the push, right? That's the goal. Like when we're doing our own series and we're doing our own like feature film animated content, it's like then I'm sure that we will have like black characters that people can that will resonate with people and that people will like and that people will want to cosplay. I mean, I don't know, like who knows, but um, you have to kind of do it first for people to even start wanting to, for it to be there, right? And like you said, it's just underrepresented right now.
Mm.
So, but once it's there, I'm sure people will just like it. I mean, I don't know. Like
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
to have a
One day
whole
we can
bunch of.
only hope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's the goal, right? And so with this new found light that's being shined on us, like we'll be able to, get the green light on some of our original content or just content that has minorities in it, or
Right.
minority characters in it.
Now that this light has been, shined on you in your company, do you feel the need to like hire or show diversity in your studio, not just like white or Asian people?
Well, so that's like a weird question, only because we're like our studio is already diverse, and so it's
Well,
interesting
more
because
diversity, I guess, because they
yeah, like
because when you hear black owned, you want to see a lot more black faces, and it's like, no, we
I
just
see what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so even like right now, well, we have like our character designer is black, and
Mm.
of course I'm black, and my brother, right? And then,
Right, yeah.
so then the rest of our studios, we have like the Indonesian, the dark Asians, and then we have like Japanese people and white people and Puerto Rican.
Mm.
But so we have people from all over the place. But the hardest thing for that is how many black artists are in Japan.
Yeah.
Like that's difficult, right? And so like we of course we can hire like we do definitely, so like, with almost all the content that we make, like it's like, we hire artists from South Africa, we work with artists like obviously in New York, we work with artists, because we work with numerous art. So
Mm.
all of the content we create, we're always working with black people.
Right.
But and then I mean not only black people, but we are always working with very diverse and very eclectic,
Mm.
crew. But but when it comes to visual representation, like within our studio, that's a little bit difficult because there's just not enough for those people here
Yeah,
in
right,
Japan.
yeah.
Right now, our studio is only here, but we're always working with artists everywhere, and obviously I hope that people more black people move to Japan,
I
and like
mean, we can
that
only
want to
hope.
create out here
Yeah.
and learn Japanese and there's some people who are out here who are doing manga and stuff like that and they're studying how to do manga. I think we have a few black illustrators that I know, and then I've had a few people come here with their portfolios.
Mm.
Um, it wasn't where it needed to be yet, but then we give them the advice, and then hopefully if they do what we gave them, then they can come back, right? So
Mm.
um, I think that there's abundance of talent
Mm.
in the West,
Mm.
like with POC and stuff like that. But and so we're looking at where I was reaching out with them and talking with those guys and girls and everyone. But like, so it's just like, how do we? Yeah, we yeah. That's something I'm kind of trying to like figure out. Like as we get larger
Mm.
and our studio expands and we get more just more of everything,
Mm.
then we can hire artists that aren't like even now with the COVID thing, right? Like the artists don't actually have to be on location; they can
Yeah,
be
right.
somewhere else. Um, but I kind of feel a certain way about that only because it's I don't know. Like, I don't know. I like people to be here.
You
You
be
know,
in
and
the
I,
yeah.
I
That's what I be trying to tell my
yeah,
co-hosts. I like to be in the studio. I mean, we've been doing stuff over like Zoom and stuff like that. I'm like, it's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
You get the content out there, but I like being in the studio. I like the energy.
Yeah. I think it's different. And then even when you're like teaching people things and stuff, like,
Mm.
okay, well, here's the data. Oh, wait, I have the data back. Right? But if they're like right
Right.
here, like, okay, cool, like draw like this, and this is what you need to do, and this is how you fix it. But now it's like, okay, cool, I fixed your data, I sent it back to you. I mean, of course, there's whiteboards I could draw it. Like, we can.
Mm.
There's new technology you can draw on top of things, but it's I don't know. But I prefer people to be here. And then, and I think that preference probably won't change for me. Although we are definitely open to hiring artists from, and having them be they are employees, but just
Mm.
being all over the place.
Yeah, because that adjustment
That
has
I
to be
think that's okay.
crazy.
Yeah,
Coming from New
yeah,
Jersey and then going to Japan, but you've been there over half your life, so now it probably seems like nothing. But I mean, when you probably first got there, it might have been like a huge culture shock.
yeah. Have you been to like any like just like different state or something or
Yeah, different states. I plan on going to Japan like within the next 3 years or so. So
okay, cool. Whatever you get out here, like definitely hit me up. I
definitely
like if you take you around. I know everything about Japan,
appreciate it.
but
Appreciate
like
it.
yeah. No, I'm serious about that too. But
I'm serious too. I'm dead ass. I'm gonna hit you up.
yeah, so, like who's this guy, man? He's one of these ninjas hit me up, man.
What are
Yeah.
these ninjas hitting you up? now,
Like,
now, what's a day in the life like in I guess de Stagio? Like, what do you? Okay, so when you wake up, is it just like go to the studio, you draw for a few hours, meetings, this, that, and the third, or
yeah.
like what's a day like?
Yeah. So, but for me, I'm like always at my desk. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even go home, especially now I'm so busy. I've been like here like 3 days straight. But generally, like for the rest of our staff, um, everyone comes in. Like everybody's schedule is different. Like we don't have fixed schedules here.
Mm-hmm.
So artists they kind of have their own schedule. So some people are like early birds. They come in early, they leave early. Some people are like I don't know, they're nocturnal creatures, so they come late and they stay late. And then some people come in the middle of the day. But so that is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, like everyone comes in at whatever time they come in, and they would have already had their work determined
Mm-hmm.
by either a meeting previously. So we have a meeting. It depends, like once or twice a week, and then then we just start the production process, and it's a production, so that's a very long thing. So like we'll be working on one thing for like 2 or 3 months. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone like once we have that first initial meeting, we already kind of know what your job is for the whole month, right? Kind of thing. So then you're just coming in, doing your work, and then once you get it checked, then maybe some people go out for lunch or whatever, or they eat lunch at their desk. Then they get their next assignment, the next work, and then they just kind of moving on, like moving through it. And yeah, I think I mean just drawing all day, right? Like it's just like everyone's just it's kind of quiet,
Mm-hmm.
and like just kind of staring. Everybody's just staring at their computers or whatever, and just kind of scribbling away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right,
But
right.
yeah,
Now, owning like like the first, I guess, black owned anime studio in Japan, is there any added pressure to everything to make everything like as flawless and perfect as possible, or is it just like
so
no, it's just a normal, I
yeah, like because
I do
it
what I do.
obviously, like initially when it first started, like it wasn't like that. That wasn't like the goal, right? Like none of that stuff. Like I'm gonna make the first of this. I'm gonna be the first doing that.
Hmm.
Like I
But
like
it's like
that
black
like
man, don't
never.
let us down. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like do it
And
right. Come
so
on, we
like
need you.
yeah. I know. So now that we have like, cause like you said, like you weren't aware of us, and a lot of black people weren't aware of us, for a
Exactly.
long time,
Hmm.
and so I was just doing stuff for myself, right, and my brother, and then for
Mm.
for my staff and for this company, right, like always doing stuff for the company, really, and
Mm.
then now there is that added pressure, and it's still small right now because we don't have that many fans yet, right? But like I think like right now, like our fans just at least following us. I don't even know if they're a fan, but like at least they're following us. They click follow,
Yeah,
count them
right,
as a
right.
fan. But like, but at least now it's up to like maybe like 39,000 or something.
Mm.
So, like that's pretty cool. But so that's still not that heavy yet, right? And it's like it's just that. So but it is something to consider, right? Because just a few months ago it was way lower than that, right? Like
Mm.
5,000. So and then now that I'm having these interviews and I'm getting these messages from
Mm.
from our folk, like, oh, we're proud of you, or you're doing something great and you're doing this, and like you said, don't let us down, or like like all
Yeah.
these different messages, like, oh man, like my kids got super motivated just because they saw you, and so I'm like, shoot, that's like, I mean, not shooting like a negative way, like, oh man, I didn't want to do that, not that, but like, shoot,
Mm.
I wasn't aware of it.
Right.
I'm like, dang, like, oh shoot, like they said I'm a role model now, like so it's
I
like
mean,
like
you've been thrust
yeah,
into that light now. Unfortunately,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
even if you didn't want it, it's yours now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So like now I'm like I have to think about that, and like
Mm.
so I'm like, I don't know. I have I guess I have to try my best to make good choices,
Yeah.
with at least in terms of the company,
Mm.
like my personal life is my personal life and I live the way I have to live. But like
Right.
I do think that, yeah, like you said, like we have to kind of, well, yeah, it's like, well, already like just owning a company, you don't want to fail, right? Like it's like the only way to stay in business is stay in business, so
Right.
that's
Right.
like,
Right.
yeah, so you have to kind of like, so that's that, right? Like already, but now there's this extra thing where it's like definitely don't, like make sure this company becomes a company, right? Like this corporation, like this thing where it's like, yeah, so that there's, for our folks, is so that they can be like, man, like there is this company that's owned by Black people, and then and like I don't know, like he's doing it,
Yes.
and making stuff for us, and
Soon as I
or
heard
making
black
stuff that
owned in
represents us.
anime, I was in.
Or what is this? When you heard that, what Black owned anime? What's that got to do with anything? No, no. Yeah,
Soon as I heard that, I was in. I said, I heard black owned anime. I said,
yeah.
nah, I'm in. Count me
Oh,
in.
that's cool. I appreciate that.
Nah,
No, I did.
at times like this, we gotta support our own, and it's like two things I love. I love anime and I love black people. So it's like
Yeah,
put the two together. Hey, you got me.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, right. That's funny.
So now,
Of course.
my last thing, because I don't want to take too much of your time, and I actually gotta get ready for work in a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
So now that you have the world's attention, what are you gonna do with it? What projects do you have? What do you have planned?
Yeah, man. That so now that we have, yeah, that's the question, right? And that's the, like, right now our email inbox is just flooded
Mm.
with like projects and ideas and concepts and meetings and tons of so it's like I feel like I have to make the right choice,
Mm.
like I have to kind of choose the right email.
Yeah. The
Like
luck of the draw.
choose the right email, choose the right meeting. Well, obviously we're having all the meetings, but like, with these different platforms, these different corporations that all have content and ideas, and I feel like we have to choose the right one. But right, not for our fans, which kind of sounds weird. I don't mean that, but right for, because I have to also make sure. Well, it's like I hope the fans like what we do,
Yeah,
but I have
yeah,
to
but it
also
also
make sure
has
that it
has
represents.
to feed you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Mm.
like what, because we're trying to discover what is the art still, right? And
Right.
so that, like, as we're presenting this to you guys, and so I feel like that's the next thing, and it's like it's like, and then of course the basic thing is like, man, like now it's like everybody's looking at this, so it's like every time we make something, like, shoot, like, I just hope it's good, right? I guess
Mm.
like, like just make it good, right? Like make it good so that people can kind of like it. So
Mm.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, Arthel, I really enjoyed this conversation. Like I said before, I'm glad I found out about the studio. Better late than never. Just want to let you know, brother, you are vital. You are appreciated. You are needed.
Yeah.
We need more out there like you, and hopefully you could take this thing to the next level, and then we could see some more dope stuff come out of Shtajio. So
Definitely appreciate it, man. Thank you for this platform. Thank you guys for making time. I know that you you were up early, man. Thank you to Three Ninjas and all of you guys.
it was it was it
Super
was it
appreciate
was that important to me that I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Fuck it.
it. I'm just gonna wake up.
Just gonna wake up, do it. Fuck it. Just do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But
Thank you.
I'll be in touch. When I do make my trip to Japan, I will be hitting you up. But before then,
Yeah,
I'll be in touch. Hopefully we will stay in contact. We'll
yeah,
hopefully get you back on the phone for some more conversations, some more in depth stuff. I still have a lot of questions, but it's just timing is messed up right now. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Definitely.
be well, brother. Be safe.
Yeah.
Just everything. Just be well. Be safe. Keep your whatever you got to do to keep your mental health intact. Do that. Just hopefully I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
same to you.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
All right, man.
Peace.
Be easy.